Today, February 15th, 2025, families on both sides of the conflict experienced a long-awaited moment of joy and emotional release. As part of the ongoing truce between Hamas and Israel, several hostages and prisoners were freed, and their reunions with loved ones were nothing short of heartwarming. In Israel, families eagerly awaited the release of 3 Israeli hostages from Gaza. These hostages had been held captive for months, but today their loved ones were finally able to witness their return, live on television. In Kiryat Ono, a town just outside of Tel Aviv, the family of Sagui Dekel Chen gathered around their screens, and when they saw him on television, walking free, their cheers and screams of joy echoed in their home. It was an emotional scene as they witnessed his safe return after what must have felt like an eternity of uncertainty. His family was overcome with relief, tears, and overwhelming happiness as they saw their son, brother, and husband finally come back to them. In the small town of Givot Bar, a close-knit community in southern Israel, Dekel Chen's friends and colleagues also gathered to watch the live broadcast. As Dekel Chen appeared on screen, standing tall and walking on his own, the crowd burst into tears. But these weren't tears of sorrow, they were tears of joy, and they celebrated by dancing, singing, and cheering for his return. The Israeli flag was waved proudly as his friends sang a song that has become a symbol of strength. The people of Israel live. They had all been waiting for this moment, the return of one of their own. They held up a banner with Dekel Chen's face on it, reading, "So good that you came home, we missed you a lot." It was a scene of raw emotion, grief, joy, and hope intertwined. The celebrations continued as bottles of champagne were popped to toast to the return of their beloved friend. Elsewhere in Israel, 3 hostages who were freed earlier today were reunited with the Israeli army. A handout from the Israeli army showed still photos of Dekel Chen, Yair Horn, and Sasha Trufanov moments after their release. The 3 hostages were greeted by army representatives, marking the first meeting between the captives and Israeli forces since they were abducted from their kibbutz in Nir Oz just over 500 days ago. The weight of their freedom was clear in the photographs. Exhausted but relieved, their faces showing a mixture of emotions. In Reim, Israel, Dekel Chen was reunited with his wife Avital and their young daughter. The emotional reunion unfolded as Dekel Chen embraced his wife, whispering words of love and comfort. His wife, too overcome with emotion, repeatedly told him, "You're my champion. You're a champion." Their daughter, born while Dekel Chen was held in captivity, was waiting for her father to meet her for the first time. Avital revealed their daughter's name to him, Shachar Mazal. As he learned the name of his newborn, Dekel Chen responded with a simple, "Perfect," kissing his wife and savoring the moment.
And I'm excited for the 3 hostages that are coming back home today to their families after so long. But I'm also very worried about Nimrod, that is not supposed to be released in this phase and only on the second phase because he's a young man. And I'm afraid we heard about what they are going through in captivity, the tortures, and they are starved. And I'm worried and I'm terrified what's the situation of Nimrod, and I don't know what is going on with him now. I'm sure he's waiting that the government will continue to the second phase to let him out.
So now we can take a breath. Sagui is in safe hands now. He was kidnapped from his house in Nir Oz when he went out to protect his family. And he's going now to meet his wife and his 3 daughters. When he left, there were 2 daughters, and today there is 1-year-old daughter that he hadn't met yet. Today he's going to meet her and hold her in his hands.
The pain of missing so much of his child's life faded as he held his family close. Meanwhile, another hostage, EAR Horn, was also reunited with his family. In an emotional scene, Horn embraced his brother Amos and his mother, Ruth Strum. These reunions, after months of suffering and uncertainty, were truly a testament to the resilience of the human spirit.
وفرحة كويسة إن شاء الله. كنت متوقع هذا اليوم يجي؟ والله ما احنا متوقعين، لا مش متوقعين نهائي. بس ربنا كبير. ربنا فرج عننا.
The love, joy, and tears shared between the families were evident, and it was clear that this moment of freedom was long awaited. But even as families celebrated the return of their loved ones, the fear and anxiety of others still lingered. Vicky Cohen, mother of Israeli soldier Nimrod Cohen, who remains in captivity, spoke out about her concerns. She expressed both joy and worry, relieved for the 3 hostages returning today, but deeply anxious for her son, who, unlike the others, was not part of this phase of the release. She expressed her fear about what he might be going through in captivity. "We heard about what they are going through, tortures, being starved. I'm terrified about what's happening to Nimrod right now," she said. Vicky's hope rests in the continuation of the truce, praying that her son will be released in the next phase. As the focus shifted to the West Bank, a different kind of celebration was taking place. A large crowd gathered in Ramallah to welcome 10 Palestinian prisoners who had been freed as part of the ceasefire agreement. Most of the prisoners had been sentenced to life in prison, some for decades. Their release brought immense joy and relief to their families. In a scene of celebration, one by one, the released prisoners were carried on the shoulders of jubilant supporters. They were welcomed home with warm embraces, tears, and kisses. The streets of Ramallah echoed with cheers as families reconnected after years of separation. Musa Navarra, a released Palestinian prisoner who had been sentenced to life, expressed his joy at being free once more. "When one stays in prison for 15 years, 20 years, it feels good. It's a joy," he said, explaining that he hadn't expected to be freed, but was grateful for his release. Another prisoner, Amir Abu Radaha, who had been imprisoned for 23 years, was also welcomed by a huge crowd. As he was carried on the shoulders of family and supporters, he spoke of the difficulty of his time in captivity. "The past year and a half was more difficult than the past 23 years, he said, reflecting on the hardships of the most recent period in prison. Amir's aunt, overcome with emotion, cried as she embraced him. While joy filled the air, some expressed frustration over the years of hardship these prisoners endured. It was a moment of mixed emotions, where relief at the return of loved ones met the lingering pain of years lost. The scene in Gaza mirrored the celebrations in the West Bank. Freed Palestinian prisoners made their way to the European hospital in Khan Yunis, a town in southern Gaza. As the buses arrived, a crowd surrounded them, eager to greet the prisoners. The prisoners leaned out of the windows, waving to the cheering crowd, their faces filled with gratitude. The emotional reunions continued as families greeted their loved ones, their joy evident in every hug, every tear. In the midst of all this, children held up signs and waved, excited to see their relatives after years of separation. For these prisoners, freedom was bittersweet, for it was a return to their families, but also a reminder of the long years spent in captivity. As we witness these heartfelt reunions and emotional moments of freedom, we are reminded of the power of family, the resilience of the human spirit, and the hope for a brighter future. Today, on both sides of this conflict, families have been reunited, offering a glimpse of the possibility for peace even in the most difficult of circumstances.